The Golden Touch of Midas. Once upon a time, there was a Greek king, Midas. He was very rich and had lots of gold. He had a daughter, who he loved a lot. One day, Midas found an angel in need of help. He helped her and in return she agreed to grant a wish. Midas wished that everything he touched would turn into gold. His wish was granted. On his way home, he touched rocks and plants and they turned into gold. As he reached home, in excitement he hugged his daughter, who turned into gold. Midas was devastated and he had learnt his lesson. Upon learning his lesson, Midas asked the angel to take his wish away. Moral of the story. Greed is not good for you. Be content and satisfied to lead a happy and fulfilling life. Be wise while counting. One day in Akbar's court someone asked the question, "How many crows are there in the city?" No one had the answer. Birbal quickly replied, 4,312. He was asked how did he know this. Birbal said, "Send your man out to count the crows. If it is lesser than this number, then some crows are visiting their families elsewhere, and if it is more than this number, then some crows from outside are visiting their families here." Akbar was very happy with the answer and showered Birbal with gifts for his wit. Moral of the story. Sometimes you have to learn to think outside of the box. Grey Goose and Gander. Once upon a time, there was a peaceful kingdom. The king heard rumors that barbarians were going to attack his castle soon. So he called his two favorite pets, the huge grey goose and gander. "My dear goose and gander, our kingdom is in danger. Take my daughter to a safe place on top of the tallest hill," said the king. So the grey goose and gander flew the princess who sat in a red sheet over the one-strand river to the top of the tallest hill. 6 months had passed but the kingdom was not attacked. The king regretted his decision and told the grey goose and gander to bring home his daughter. Then the king understood that he had to be careful before taking actions based up the rumors which need not be true. The king was aware of his discretion before taking any decision. Moral of the story. You do not have to overreact just because you overheard rumors. The Brahmin's dream. A poor Brahmin lived in a village all alone. He had no friends or relatives. He was known for being stingy and he used to beg for a living. The food he got as alms were kept in an earthen pot which was hung beside his bed. This allowed him to easily access the food when he got hungry. On one day, he got so much rice gruel that even after completing his meal, there was so much left over in his pot. That night, he dreamt that his pot was overflowing with rice gruel and that if a famine came, he could sell the food and earn silver from it. This silver could then be used to buy a pair of goats who would soon have kids and create a herd. This herd in turn could be traded for buffaloes who would give milk from which he could make dairy products. These products could be sold in the market for more money. This money would help him get married to a rich woman and together they would have a son who he could scold and love in equal measure. He dreamt that when his son wouldn't listen, he would run after him with a stick. Wrapped up in his dream, the Brahmin picked up the stick near his bed and started hitting the air with the stick. While flailing about, he hit the earthen pot with the stick. The pot broke and all the contents spilled over him. The Brahmin woke up with a start only to realize that everything was a dream. Moral of the story. One should not build castles in the air. The Blue Jackal Story. Once there was an adventurous jackal who frequently strayed into the village looking for food. The village was filled with dogs that scared the jackal. Although he was scared of the dogs, the jackal loved food and traveled to the city again and again. One day, as he was going to enter a house, he heard barking. He was shocked to find a gang of dogs running towards the house. They looked violent and caused the jackal to panic. He ran and tumbled into a tub of blue dye. The dogs couldn't see him and they ran another way. Now the jackal was completely blue from head to toe. He appeared very different from any other animal. The jackal was pleased as no one would be able to recognize him and he could easily fool anyone in the jungle. Just like he had thought, everyone in the jungle was surprised to see such an unusual animal. The small animals, the lion and the tiger, all asked who he was and who had sent him. "I have been sent by God himself to look after you. I will now be the king of the jungle," the jackal said. The lion protested saying he had always been the king of the forest. From now, That must change and all of you must serve me, the jackal happily said. Some animals like the tiger protested and asked what would happen if they didn't obey him. He replied saying God would destroy the entire jungle if they didn't. Scared for their lives and their jungle, the animals asked the blue jackal what he would like them to do. Bring me lots of food, said the blue jackal promptly. The animals quickly scurried and returned with lots of food for the jackal. He had so much food that he gave his leftovers to the other animals and told them that they had to serve him fresh food every day. He even threw out the pack of jackals from the forest because he knew that they could identify him someday. The blue jackal was very happy with himself for fooling the entire forest and was happy to be away from the city dogs. But one day the band pack of jackals was walking around the forest and howling loudly. The blue jackal began howling out of habit too. Because of this mistake, the other animals quickly identified him as a jackal and destroyed him. Moral of the story: be true to yourself and don't pretend to be someone you are not.